Thanks very much. It's the biggest purchase, the biggest investment of your entire life, and buying your first home can be a very daunting challenge. Limor Markman runs a course in home purchasing secrets. She's here with some advice today in Calgary. Good to have you here.
Thank you for having me, Ian.
Now, overall speaking, is this a good time or a bad time to buy a house, your first house in Canada?
Well, I think that the best time to buy your first house is when you've got enough of a down payment and you've had enough of living in your parents' basement.
Sure.
So don't have a crystal ball when it comes to that, but when you're ready, it's the time to jump in.
Okay, but generally speaking, in Calgary, is the market ripe for this?
I think so. I think if you're ready to go, you've had some good steady prices, jump on in.
And you've mentioned that you've made some investments. You're from Toronto.
Yes, I'm from Toronto, but I actually do a fair bit of investing out in Alberta. I always joke around, you guys are a little bit on sale, so it makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Now, you do mention mom and dad's basement, which
yes.
and it's so disheartening that that's the reality, that for so many young people, they're burdened with, for example, student debt coming out of university, that they are dependent on their parents to get into their first home.
Well, and real estate prices are high right across the country, right? So, I mean, it's a little bit better here in the Calgary area, but if you're in Toronto, you're in Vancouver, you want to buy your first home, it's very common to get some help from the bank of mom and dad.
Right. Okay, yeah. So let's say mom and dad do give you a loan, or they give you a gift.
Yes.
What should you do with that money then?
Well, one of the things that I really recommend people do is make sure that you've put the $25,000 into your RSPs, which you can take out from yourself interest-free. But often when you get a gift from your family, you don't necessarily think of putting in your RSP first, getting a significant tax return, and then being able to still use that money. So,
and you are allowed to do that. You're allowed to
absolutely.
take a financial gift as opposed to your own income.
You can. You can.
Your RSP.
Absolutely. You can get that gift. The money just has to sit there for the 90-day period, and then you can take it out, and you get the significant benefit of having contributed that money to your RSPs.
Now, you also have some advice on dealing with real estate agents and also lawyers. Now, how do you suggest they handle your money?
Yeah, so when you put in your deposit, I highly recommend that you put your money in trust with your lawyer rather than with the seller's realtor, which is often very common because the seller's realtor will ask for it and the seller will want to hold it. But if you've put in your financing condition or your home inspection and you find that for some reason you don't qualify or the property is no longer for you and you want to back out of the deal, sometimes it can take a little bit longer than you might expect to get the money back. And if it's in peak season and you're ready to jump into your next property, it can really slow you down. Now,
how great is the need for a home appraisal, and why should that be part of your whole math of buying a home?
Yeah, it is actually very, very important. And we've heard, particularly over the last month or so, a lot of chaos, particularly in some of the hotter markets where we've had a bit of a slowdown. So you as an individual can be pre-approved from a financing standpoint, but the property is not necessarily pre-approved. So you want to make sure that before you lift the financing condition, you have had the appraisal and you can ensure that the money you're expecting from your lender is delivered to you.
Could people get in a bind where they're approved for the mortgage and they suddenly decide that the home is not worth buying?
And that has been happening all over the place. So when buyers, in fact, are pulling out, there's now quite a few lawsuits from sellers. And this is something we haven't seen too much in the past because the markets have been just getting hotter and hotter. But when all of a sudden, you're used to having a lot of bidding wars to be able to secure your first property,
right.
You're not really thinking about this. This has been something that's been jumping up more in the last few months than we've ever seen.
But this is primarily a Toronto and Vancouver problem at the moment.
At the moment, but it's important to be savvy. Like you said, it's the biggest purchase of your life. You don't want to make a financial mistake in the process.
Yeah. All right. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
And for more information, you can check out homepurchasingsecrets.com. Limor is also on Facebook and Twitter.